It was actually put out by Christy Hales on her thing, but it was by Mayor Diodati, I think,
No, I
about
didn't.
GNGH flooding.
Oh yeah, I didn't get into that article, but I did see that GNGH was flooded.
Yeah. So this basically came up on Saturday. GNGH got flooded due to a water main burst, and there's actually a video out there on Facebook that seems to be by Mayor Diodati about this, and there's water coming in the doors.
Oh wow.
Pretty damn bad. Yeah, although that place is going to stink to high heaven.
Yes, it could. I don't know the extent of it. I only know that it happened. And as soon as I saw it, I know that a lot of water mains break in the summertime because the ground gets too dry.
Yeah.
In winter, when they break, it's because of ice heaving up around the mains and breaking them. But in the summertime, it's different. The ground dries, and then there's too much weight on the pipe, because when water leaves the soil, it becomes smaller. Basically, it shrinks.
Yeah.
And then the pipes are not fully supported by the ground.
Yeah,
pressure on them, it cracks, particularly the old ones.
And the older they are, and of course somewhere like GNGH, they are quite old. It will be quite old. Whereas the newer ones are more flexible.
I don't know if they're more flexible, but they take means by which to preserve them.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, the old cast. I don't know if it's old cast iron pipe, but I do know that they take certain measures to make these old pipes last longer. As far as corrosion concerns, they add electrical charge to the old pipes, and they can get up to 50 years more service out of them if they do that. But I don't know what caused this particular main break, but that happens in the summer when the ground dries up, and then the pipe is actually suspended a little bit in certain areas, because the ground, which normally would be of certain mass, pushes back up on the pipe, and when it shrinks down, then the pipe kind of has weight on it, its own weight. Cracks. I don't know if that was the situation here or not, or if it's just an old
there's not really anything.
Old pipe at first.
They're basically saying, well, Niagara, basically they're saying Niagara Health have put out a statement saying we continue to accept walk-in patients for care at Niagara Falls emergency. Emergency cases are also being managed at Marotta in St. Catharines. Contingency plans are in place to minimize service disruptions. Right, there are no plans to relocate our patients currently in Niagara Falls Hospital anywhere else. So that's what they're saying.
They might give them all life jackets. That's about the only thing I can think of.
Well, I think they'll be on the second floor anyway. Most of those that are in care are often on the second floor.
Yeah, but they got the lower areas where the Trillium and those areas down there on the lower ends. So I don't know what area of the hospital flooded, but I
think it's the area around from what I could see, it's the area around the back from the emergency. But this is on the video. It looked kind of familiar, but I couldn't place it particularly, right? Because there are open doors. There are open doors that looked as if clearly the flood was behind where these doors were. Right.
It's probably a utility room, maybe close to a utility room.
Oh, yeah, probably, undoubtedly. And whilst it isn't that deep, it's only an inch or two. In the majority of it, they're putting things like towels under doors to stop it getting in there. And this looks as if it's I don't know. the rooms, the areas look familiar. It looks like it's by the labs.
Could be, yeah. Could be back there, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, but again, it's a long time since I've been in GNGH that I can't, you know, my recollection's kind of a bit rusty on them.
You see, well, it's they could have just lied and said that they turned the sprinkler system on to keep patients cool.
No. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure they'll get, you know, I think the thing is now it's being worked upon now, I'm assuming. They've gotten to the heart of the problem. They've turned the water off. They managed to get the, you know, this sorted, and it's only really a, you know, it's just a danger. You know, it's just like, well, we have to be careful with these sort of things anyway. And you're right. You know, that comes because of drying out the land around the pipes, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I doubt these older pipes in place like GNG, especially since they're kind of now on the route. You know, we're talking about what, 3 years till the place is 3 to 4 years before it's replaced, right?
Oh, I'm not so sure. But anyway,
yeah,
they better get her.
It was supposed to be 28. The new hospital's opening. Right.
Well, I got other news. I watched the lacrosse game in St. Catharines, the gaming arena there, the game arena there that at Brock University on Saturday, and it was the greatest lacrosse game I ever saw. It was junior A, St. Catharines Junior A's against the Whitby Warriors. And they took a 2-1 lead by winning in overtime. But that's not what was the greatest part of the game. Greatest part of the game is when this chubby senior guy went down to collect his winnings for the 50-50 draw. That chubby senior guy happened to be me. I won the 50-50 draw. I won $320.
Don't spend it all at once.
Yeah. Well, you know, I joke that I put the wallet in my right pocket, and ever since the extra weight has been putting a strain on my left knee, and it's hurting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm not going to ask you what you're going to do with the money. You know, good for you, Dave.
Yeah. Well, I buy them. I buy the 50-50 draw because it supports the team, and I joked just before it because my friends and I were there the game before that, and I joked to them at that time when the 50-50 draw was announced. I looked at my tickets and I said, they made a mistake. My number wasn't called, and before that, just before the game started, I said, I hope they don't make the mistake and not call my numbers this time. And they did.
Yeah.
In any case,
yeah.
Oh, I would just like to add this. Like I put it as an article, but it just had to make me laugh because of what the conspiracy theory stuff is going on down in the States. I'm really not interested at all in Epstein, and I don't think Trump was any kind of pervert or anything like that. But I glanced over on something that said was one of these, which I thought was kind of another conspiracy thing, where it said Rupert Murdoch prefers J.D. Vance to be the president, and this was all part of the conspiracy to get Trump out and Vance in.
I saw that, but we got a lot of articles today.
Okay, well, we can leave it later, but it was I just thought it was humorous because I saw that and I thought, what a bunch of
I haven't had a chance to even look at it. Yeah.
Well, it's not the article itself, it was what I saw before that, which was this conspiracy thing, saying it was a conspiracy of Rupert Murdoch to put J.D. Vance in office, and then I found out that J.D. Vance actually did fly to see Murdoch before that stuff came out about that picture of, or that letter that Trump had sent Epstein. In any case, we'll talk about that later.
This whole Epstein thing is blowing, it's like the guy's been dead 5 years, hasn't he?
Yeah, 6, I think. And it was
a little bit longer than that, but yeah.
But I don't think there any new revelations are going to come up. But anyhow.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Niagara activist sues and files complaints against Welland city politicians and staff. Basically, Niagara community advocate Stephen Seuss has launched a legal campaign against Welland's chief administrative officer, Rob Axiak, Ward 3 councillor Shamila Sitaram, and Welland Heritage Council. He's accused him of publicly labeling him a liar when which he claims caused him damage to his reputation.
This fella has shown up before, hasn't he?
I think we had him on our show in the early days back in 2019, because he was a by-election in Welland back then.
Yeah, I do sort of remember him. I think he stood alongside Sully. That's, I think, where I remember him. Our friend Sully, William O'Sullivan, when he was protesting against St. Kevin's Church for not coming clean about its pedophilia, and because he himself had been a child that was abused. Now I can't get that article up, so can you give us the
well, okay, so it's weird because I can't really get it up, but I can do the thing on Copilot. Basically, he's reportedly filed a complaint with oversight bodies, including the Ombudsman, Integrity Commissioner, suggesting that misconduct and unfair treatment by the officials involved. But this has been boiling on for some time, according to what I know, because the complaint and the fact that they called him a liar is something that they're the complaint is problematic. Gives it's
what was he supposed to have lied about?
Yeah, that actually, unfortunately, isn't said.
So I can't. You shared the article, but I couldn't open it, so I couldn't look into it.
Yeah, and it wasn't actually what was said. His legal claim, of being publicly accused of lying, but the details about what he was allegedly untruthful about are still murky. Yeah, so the coverage hasn't specified the exact statement or issues that led to city officials or local non-profit labeling him as a liar.
Well, that helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So they write an article, and don't they get a hold of? Shouldn't have got a hold of Seuss and try to find out what they lied about?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be serious enough that he's taking legal action, and he seems to. Well, he claims that it's had a detrimental effect on his reputation.
Well, his history has been talking, as you probably realize, about a large amount about homeless and those impacted by drugs.
Yes, and that would be. I don't know if that's the source of it or not, but anyway, is he suing the individual councillors or the city council itself?
The councillors, the individual councillors.
So they are on. Will they will they be on the hook for the legal fees, or will the city of Welland pick them up?
Yeah, the very good question. Don't know the answer. Depends
there's a
upon
lot.
whether it depends upon whether they're seen as representing the city of Welland, right? So, yeah, Steve Seuss has basically been vocal about mental health, homelessness, and addiction issues.
Yes, so I would
That's
think
that's what I said. So clearly, one of those issues is what came up. And also, he self-identifies as Métis and champions indigenous wellness.
well, that might be part of it too. It'd be kind of interesting to see the source of his suit. I mean, that takes a bit of effort. You're going to have to pay lawyers when you do that. So there's a bunch of. So you must be very serious about it. But of course, for the rest of us, we're kind of left in the lurch. We can't make a decision or an opinion on this or form one unless we have some details. And those details.
That becomes very awkward when we get that kind of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, all it is basically frustrating.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, we'll keep an eye on that. And my interest, of course, is, or if I was somebody from Welland, I would not want my taxpayers' money being paid for any kind of legal thing.
Yeah.
If it is directed specifically towards individuals on the council, but it seems that their position as councillors is gives them in his view gives them and the ability to defame him because of their
yeah,
positions.
I wish we could know what he was accused of lying about.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
I got nothing on that, nothing at all on that. Right. Okay. I thought this is an interesting one that you put up. Oh, sorry, no, different one. Okay. All right. Hamilton Steel Fabricator is basically moving its production to become primarily Canadian focused.
Yeah. So now this particular fabricator, of course, being hurt by the tariff situation.
Yeah.
This is an illegal tariff, and it normally all of this would be under the USMCA, but Trump wants to put maximum pressure on us. So what he does is he uses a security issue in order to put the tariff on, and saying that the United States' security is compromised by Canada because we have too much fentanyl coming from our border into the United States, along with illegals. Since that traffic goes both ways, and since since a lot of guns come from there too, of course it's a trumped up thing.
Yeah.
Normally, Congress is the one that deals with tariffs, but Trump is using his executive position to manufacture reasons to put pressure on Canadian steel and aluminum and other things, up to 50% now. So of course the fabricators and the people that live close to the border, where steel goes back and forth, and where an American company could come to Canada and have a fabricator here make something for them because it's close and they have the skill levels, that is shut down right now because of the 50% tariff. So this particular fabricator in Hamilton has been able to pivot to projects that are in Canada rather than the projects normally works on in the States.
Good for them.
70% of his business came from the States.
Yeah.
Well, what's happening now then is, luckily for him, and luckily Carney has enacted a whole bunch of projects that are going on that Canadian steel and aluminum manufacturers may be able to benefit from, because we have in the pipeline basically, and I use that as kind of a pun. We're going to be building more pipelines. We're going to be building more infrastructure, and we are going to be trying to help the fabricators in the steel industry and all that try to find markets within Canada. So it was an easy thing under USMCA to do the work back and forth. US fabricators would do some for us. We would do some for them. Having worked in industrial construction, we got most of our stuff from the States, obviously, in particularly.
There's more workers there, right? There's more workers.
Well, we were
population, and we're more a client state than anything else.
Well, when you do a major refit of a car industry, I remember we did there was a massive tear out at Ford, and they brought in all new equipment. Everything was tossed out of Ford, and everything brand new was brought in. And of course, these manufacturing systems, the particular kinds of conveyor lines and everything, came from all over the world, but principally they came from the United States. So there was all that stuff that was brought in and paid for from the United States. Now, that would have a tariff on it now coming into Canada. But you could see that I really kind of don't understand that when the United States has a huge edge on us in all those things. They sell way more of that kind of thing, fabrication, steel, and all that kind of thing, to Canada. In fact, aside from oil, they have quite a bit of trade surplus with us. So which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me what Trump is doing, because
even with agricultural goods, there's still more American produce come to Canada than Canadian produce goes to America.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but he's trying to use his the security issue of fentanyl, which is a tiny dribble going across the border. Like I said, illicit drugs go back and forth. Before one of the major tariff announcements, Toronto busted, got $180 million worth of heroin, or was it cocaine? One of the two anyway. That had come straight from the States. Anyway, but this is this particular steel fabricator and others are trying to find more markets and projects in Canada. And I think that in this particular case, the fabricator probably was not jumping on any new initiative because they haven't had time to get off the ground, any of the Carney initiatives. But what they are doing is trying to find new work within Canada. And because Carney has shut off fabricators and contractors coming from the United States to protect our own industry, that may pay off.
Yeah, probably what has happened is the guy who's doing this fabrication is gone and phoned around a load of companies and say, hey, are you, what are you needing? What can we fabricate for you?
And another thing,
that's what I'd be doing in his situation. If I was CEO or salesman for these kind of company, I'd be sending my salesman out to, Canadian companies to see what we can plug in.
Well, I think everybody's in the same in the same boat, because those who are customers are phoning around for Canadian manufacturers, which normally would have gone to a fabricator in the States, let's say. And because we have a 25% tariff on the steel coming back. But so this has forced everybody to find, rather than the most convenient one that's across the border or the ones that you've used before, you're now looking for Canadian contractors. So this will take the sting, a little bit of the sting away from the tariffs that are imposed on us. And I have to say, they're still selling this wrong. I saw an interview with Ludnick talking about an expected $100 billion coming into the United States tariff dollars because they charge China this and they charge these other countries. Well, what they're doing is they're charging their own consumer. It really does give the wrong idea. Now, the reason why countries are panicking and trying to get deals with the U.S. is because if the tariff goes into place, there'll be less sold.
Yeah.
So if you have a 50% tariff on your goods, you might only sell a fraction of what you did before because the price is high. That's the reason why other countries are worried about the tariffs. They don't have to pay the tariff. And it just keeps getting stated wrongly.
Yeah.
In all these guys.
Yeah, it's that $500 television that I'm selling to the US that now is going to cost the American consumer $750.
And all the government officials are saying, Bassett and Ludnick and all these guys, we're going to charge them 50% and we're going to charge them, but it's the consumer that's paying for that. And when pushed, Ludnick says, oh, it will not push the prices up for the consumer.
Yes, it will.
I it's just a big lie. And
that was what was behind Amazon few weeks ago, saying, put the tariff on the receipt, show it.
Yes, and it was thought to be a political move against the Trump administration, but
it was a brilliant idea. It actually shows up exactly where the issue lies. You're going to pay the tariff. Tough luck, mate.
And the Barbie, whoever it is, love it, whoever is a spokesperson there, the blonde bimbo, she's when the press was there, they didn't. When that came up, and she said it was a political move against the president to put that tariff price on there, but nobody from the press says, how is it a political move?
Yeah.
How is it a political move to attack the administration? Nobody said, how is it? How is it that a tax is labeled as on your price? I mean, everybody gets their taxes shown on their receipt.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I still don't understand why that is, except that they are smoke and mirrors. The average American is thinking that China is being charged and Canada is being charged when it's actually consumer.
Yeah.
That takes money. What people are not expressing correctly here is that's a tariff tax. So when nickel comes into, let's say aluminum comes in from Canada and it's $100 worth of aluminum, it becomes $150 worth of aluminum for those who are buying it. That $50 extra is paid to the U.S. government from the person who's buying it.
Now, the good thing about it is that when it's typically something like aluminium, it is coming in as like pre-molded piece of equipment that is going into typically going into some other something else. So that whilst it might be $100 worth of equipment, aluminium that's going into, let's say, a car, that's now being charged $150, maybe that only adds $50 to the top price of the car.
Well, yeah, that's true. So the aluminum content in the car itself, whatever aluminum, has gone up, and the person that buys the car pays that. But
and the difference, and at the end of the day, if you're buying a car for $25,000, 25,050 is kind of, well, so what?
yeah, but if you add up all the other little tariffs that go along with it,
Yeah,
you know,
maybe it's
tariff
26 or
on the copper
27 at
that's
this
in it,
point.
the tariff, you know, so
Yeah.
it does add to the price.
Yeah.
Now, if you're building a plane, that would be much more of an expense because the plane is largely aluminum, the fuselage.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of aluminum. So you're adding a fair amount of price to it.
Yeah.
But what hasn't been spoken of enough really is that the tariff is a tax. And when you tax something, it takes buying power away from the person that's being taxed.
Yeah.
So if you're buying, if you're buying, I don't know, a television, let's say, and that television comes from China and there's a 50% tariff on it. So it comes in as $1,000 and you end up paying $1,500. Well, that's less money that you have to buy something else. And that also, the fact that it's now a higher price means that you may not buy it at all. So the store owner that is selling it to you will see a drop in customers because you're taking wealth away from the people, the person who is the consumer. So the balance is to have a tax which everybody can afford and not affect so much the economy. But the more you tax something, the more money you take away from the ability of the consumer to buy things, and that is as a negative effect on the economy as a whole. So that's not really spoken of too much, and that's always been a problem with taxes. The more taxes you pay, the less you can use that money purchasing power. You know what I mean? Let's say, so ours, like our HS or our tax, it was 13%. So that's $13 you could have used to buy something else, but it doesn't hurt you that bad. So the government gets its dibs, and you have to pay a little more for the TV. So the government now has money to run the government. Yeah, but now if you put a tax of $50 on that on the item you wanted, or your HST, let's say, is $50, it really stifles your ability to buy as many things as you want, and it therefore stifles the economy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So when they say they're going to get they've got $30 billion so far from tariffs. That's $30 billion they've taken out of the wallets of the American consumer.
Citizens, yeah.
That's $30 billion that they could have used to buy other things.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Okay, moving on. Niagara Regional Police was saying that an e-bike rider in Niagara Falls was killed in a hit and run accident. Now we don't normally put these sort of things up there, but I'm thinking to myself, this is pretty bad that we seem to get a flurry of these things all of a sudden. And I know that some, people like Paul K. Lemire are not that keen on e-bike riders. They're saying that most of them are not competent to actually ride bikes, and that might well be true to some, in some extent, but that's not true of all e-bike riders.
Well, this was a hit and run, and the police are asking anybody around. Was it Dunn and Drummond?
Dunn and Drummond, yeah.
I'm very familiar with that corner. I was just at it that day, but there are people in wheelchairs too that find it frightening to be out there when they're trying to cross the road and stuff. Be very careful.
There was an incident in Mississauga where a wheelchair rider was killed.
Yes. So anyway, in this day and age when everybody's in a hurry and distracted by their phone, it is due diligence of the driver themselves to be aware. If you see an e-bike driver or a wheelchair person, it's up to you to keep a close eye on them. Yeah, it's up to you to keep a close eye on them, because in this particular case, they think that the e-bike driver lost control of his e-bike and fell on the road, and somebody ran over him and then just kept going. Now, I presume people panic when that happens. People panic and they run away. I know a guy that did that.
So clearly he lost control. He was coming from Dunn across Drummond, and it's the person on Drummond that actually was hit and run, because they were heading towards McLeod Road end.
Yes, and they took off and didn't stop. Now, why didn't they? Maybe they'd been drinking.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd been on their phone. Maybe they just panicked. Maybe there could be a number of reasons. And that person should come forward soon, I hope. What happens sometimes with people like this is they've been drinking and they run away from it, and then a couple of days later when they're sober, they turn themselves in, and nothing can be proved that they were drinking and driving, so whatever charges would be against them would be reduced, because if they're drinking and driving and kill somebody, that's criminal negligence.
Yeah. And well, you can contact the police about this. Dial 905-688-4111. Dial option is 3 with badge number 9265. Okay.
Yes. So anyway, if anyone's seen this, please help. So it's a bit of a public service announcement. And if you're driving, just remember, I know it's a stressed out world. You're late for work. You and your old lady got a big argument and you're steaming mad, and you're late for work, and that guy at the last corner was just a jerk, and you got cut off, and now you're going too fast and you're mad and your concentration's off. If you see children, people in e-bikes, wheelchairs, just slow it down and keep a really good eye out. That's all.
Yeah, I know our friend Paul K. Lemire doesn't like e-bikes because he thinks most of them are drunk.
It could be, and I have I got my problems with them too, because they get in the way all the time, and so quite often the e-bike drivers are not exactly courteous. Yeah.
All right. So just a public service announcement again. Warped on Scene. This is got this from Christy Hales. Basically, it's a thing that's happening at 22 bands, 2 locations. So Taps Brew House. This is August 16th at 1 p.m. till 11 p.m. And Taps Brew House is one of the places at 4680 Queen Street. And the other one is No Tell Cocktail, which is at 4681 Queen Street.
What is it?
Pardon me?
It's On Scene. It's called On Scene, August 16th. And 22 bands, 2 locations, all ages.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a music fest, eh?
Music festival, yeah. $5 entry. Just putting it out there, okay?
There's another one we had. There's okay. There's that other one, the AWA, African Women Actors Action or something like that. That's between the 16th and the 20th something. That's the other one we talked about last week. But this looks pretty cool. I mean, I wonder, is any of this money going to charity or something?
I don't know. I just found the badge here. The information about it. Don't know about where the money's going to, what it's for.
Yeah.
And I love the name. I love the name of one of the bands. It's called Slightly Intoxicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's another public announcement. Yeah, so it goes on from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it's in 2 locations. $5. It sounds like it's a pretty good day.
Yep. There you go. All right.
One of the bands is called Welland Wasted.
Yeah. All right. So this is an interesting one right. Labor advocates demand NHL apologize for relocating the Hamilton Tigers when they went on strike in 1925. This talk about a 100-year-old story, Dave.
Yes, and labor advocates demand the NHL apologize for this. Now, this is not back in 1925. The Hamilton Tigers were the best team in the NHL at the time, 100 years ago, and they had played extra regular season games without being paid, and they were now asked to do playoff games without pay, and they went on strike. And what did the NHL do? So the players went on strike, and at that particular time, it was a big deal for the labor movement to have employers actually pay employees for any extra duties they had. Like, it was typical. You're supposed to be working in a 10-hour day, and you're actually working a 12-hour day, and your employer will not pay you that extra amount. So, being young men, they'll say, look, you're asking us to do all these extra games. You're making money off the gate, but we're not being paid. So we're going on strike. We're not going to play these playoff games. So what the NH did, like any good capitalist swine, they took the team and moved it to New York. That's where the New York Rangers came from.
I was going to ask, what was the team that they became?
They became the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
Because New York Rangers was founded about that time, 1925, 1926.
Yeah. And
that left Hamilton without an NHL team. And it's been on it's according to here, I don't know, there's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's affected Hamilton ever since. It's a traumatic experience. We could have had an NHL team. As a matter of fact, in 1925, we could have had a Stanley Cup winning team.
And hey, the name Hamilton Tigers, there were 2 teams that used to play in, CFL type football. One was called the Tigers and the other was called the Cats. And they both came from, Wildcats, sorry. And they both came from Hamilton. But they merged. Was that Tigers anything to do with this team?
No, it was just a common name that the town used.
Yeah.
So Hamilton Tigers was just a common name. Once the NHL team didn't use it, they were free to use it, I guess. But that was nothing different. The Toronto Maple Leafs was a team in a different league when Toronto Maple Leafs changed their name from the Toronto Arenas or the Toronto St. Pat's. They changed their name and put Toronto Maple Leafs, but that was also another team for another team in Toronto from a different league. Plus, we used to have an international baseball team in Toronto called the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think it was the first professional league. It was the first professional team that Babe Ruth.
Yeah, I know. He did play for Toronto, but I don't know that Toronto was actually a part of the MLB, was it?
I don't know if he played for the Toronto International league, but he did play in that league, and he is supposed to have hit his first home run, his first professional home run in this minor league before he went to the pros.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's actually a well-known story. Yeah. I don't know who he played for, but yes, you're right. He did play in that league.
Yeah. So this is quite interesting. 100 years later, Hamilton is still steaming about the time they got ripped off for an NHL team. And you know what? And well, Trump will get to hear of this and say that a team from Hamilton came down and became the New York Rangers. He's going to slap a big tariff on them.
Yeah, but Rangers is one of the most successful franchises in the NHL, aren't they?
Yeah, they have a solid core. They have a solid core of fans. When I was in, but the Islanders and New Jersey Devils are also competing for that marketplace, but they have a huge marketplace.
Oh yeah.
So when I was in New York a few years ago, and I was on Long Island, taking the Long Island train into the city, there was a handful of people there with Rangers hats on.
Mm. Yeah, because so in fact, actually, people in Hamilton have got kind of a bit of a a bit of a claim, I guess.
Yeah, and also Hamilton has been out periodically put out there as another location for a Canadian hockey team. The biggest problem, of course, is Hamilton or the Buffalo Sabres and Toronto, who don't want to compete with Hamilton because it's really close by.
Well, Buffalo Sabres draws a lot of its crowd from the Hamilton Niagara region anyway, don't they?
What does from the Niagara? I don't know how much from the Hamilton.
No, I had friends in Hamilton who were Buffalo Sabres, because they just basically, for them, they'll support any team, they're supporting the closest team that isn't Toronto.
Well, I was lucky enough to see dozens of excellent games in Buffalo in the early years of the franchise, when the French Connection and Punch Imlach was behind the bench. It was and Eddie Shack was out there for entertainment. But Buffalo is hurting. Not so much their fan base probably is not exactly strong. Like Toronto, you can be on the bottom of the league for 10 years in a row, and Toronto's going to fill that arena.
Yeah.
Buffalo's not the same. And Buffalo's performance on the ice has not been that great. I mean, I went there to see a game back in February, I think it was. And my God, I think half the junior A's could beat them.
Yeah. Well, were they at the state whereby when they're calling the names of the players who come on, the crowd boos them?
Yeah. Well, I saw that even in Toronto, where the many years ago, I had a seat way up in the Grays, but was able to watch a very good seat because there was a massive blizzard and most of the people couldn't get in on time. So we were able to move our seats right from the way up in the Grays, right close to the really good seats. But as the game went on, right into the third period, people were still showing up. So by the time the game ended, almost everybody had showed up despite this massive blizzard. And they were booing some of their own players, but at the same time, they lost 4-2. But they scored the last 2 goals, and you would have thought they just won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Mm.
That's how strong the Toronto Maple Leaf fans are.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I misheard you when you were saying that. I thought you said the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Maple Leaves, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any case, this is an interesting case where it was actually the union movement, and that probably precipitated part of this strike that they did against the NHL. And like capital swines they are, they took the team, instead of resolving the issue and throwing them. Not only that, they fined the players, and they fined them $200. The players were asking for $200, but they were fined $200. And if they didn't pay that fine, they couldn't play in the NHL anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, talk about capitalist swine.
$200 back then was probably was a lot of money, right?
It's a fortune.
Yeah.
My that's 1925, and the first house that I bought on Ontario Avenue was built in 1913 for a cost of $375. a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting thing here is the president of the United Steelworkers Local 7135 was actually in a Tigers jersey when they were talking about this.
That's cool.
Right. There you go. Right. And the interesting, they're talking about it 100 years later. It's a piece of history I didn't know about.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's very, very interesting, particularly when it corresponds to a time when workers were being, of course, abused terribly. In this particular case, the story didn't work out too well for the workers, basically, but the capitalist swine won this one. But as you can see, the players in the NHL now are super well paid, benefits, all kinds of other perks.
Yeah.
So the capitalist swine did not win totally nowadays. But in any case, we find around 1919 we had the Black Sox scandal, where the Black Sox, Chicago White Sox, were fixing the playoffs because they weren't getting paid well enough, and hoped to make some money from.
And actually, funnily enough, this year the NHL actually mentioned that they were withdrawing the so posthumously these people could be given permission to go to the Hall of Fame if voted in.
Oh, these Hamilton ones?
No, I mean the you were talking about the Chicago Black Sox. A couple of the players from the Chicago Black Sox allegedly have the right to go to the Hall of Fame, but were denied it. The baseball.
Oh, like Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
Like Shoeless Joe Jackson. He's the one.
They also released the right for Pete Rose to go into the Hall of Fame posthumously.
He after he's dead.
Yeah, after he's dead, of course. Yeah. He's been dead for like 15 years now.
Pete Rose?
Yep. So something like that. Not a while anyway. He's been dead a while. Yeah.
I didn't
think
know
he
that.
has. I think he has. Maybe not 15, but some time. But they basically they've released a number of people that were banned from the ability to go into the Hall of Fame. They've now actually allowed them the possibility.
Yeah, he died last year.
Last year, okay.
Yeah. So
last year, okay. 15 months ago, then probably. Yeah.
Okay, so we got that covered. What's next?
Yeah, well, Ontario's proposed landlord drug liability law rattles supportive housing providers. I think this is actually a bit of a, legislation would make landlords responsible for preventing drug activity in units. How could you do that?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Is this an overreach by the government that they're going to make? They're going to put pressure on landlords to prevent drug use and trafficking in their buildings.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, most landlords don't want trafficking in the buildings, but they need the cooperation of the police to stop it.
Well, this is the whole thing. So what they're implying here, and then if you read further into it, you see that the landlords may have been taking advantage of this, some landlords, because they knowingly allow drug trafficking to go on in the units, knowing full well that their clients who are peddling drugs, survival drugs mostly in this particular case, survival dealers are those who sell drugs in order to keep their habit going. So they sell X amount of drugs, and then that gives them enough money to use whatever is left over when they have to pay their suppliers.
Yeah, we had a client who was trying to get rid of a drug dealer through the LTB a few years ago.
Well, yeah. So here, that's exactly the situation. But I think what they're trying to do here is to put pressure on some landlords to help in reducing areas where they're selling drugs. Now, a lot of this, of course, worries the people who supply supportive housing, because a lot of them may be addicted, and they may do the supportive what they call survival selling. In other words, they sell enough to keep their habit going. They need X amount of drugs. They don't have enough money coming in, so they find themselves, they have to sell drugs in order to get them. If they so whatever their profit, whatever the dealer wants, or the supplier, so the drug trafficker gives them X amount of heroin and says, I want X amount of dollars for it. So they get that X amount of dollars, and then they have a little bit extra that they don't use for profit, but use to sustain their habit.
Yeah. So basically it enables the dealer to pay for their rent and pay for their habit.
Yes. So you can think of some housing units, and of course you think of this in the United States, the projects and everything else like that. There was a public housing thing in Toronto where most of the drugs that were being supplied in Toronto came through public housing units and apartments. I remember my cousin had to go there and rescue the cops when they did a raid there. They overloaded the service elevator and it broke down. So the cops were going to bust a drug dealer in one of these public housing apartments, and they overloaded the service elevator, broke down, and the fire department had to come and rescue them. So they got this SWAT team type in all their gear, and they're stuck in the elevator, and they had to phone that must have been embarrassing.
Yeah.
They had to phone the fire department.
And probably the guy who's the drug dealer's kind of going, yeah, laughing at them, having escaped the unit, right?
So maybe it's some places like that, but nothing has been really defined very well for the landlords, and that all had, what do we need to do? And it is suggested by the government that you can defend yourself by having cameras set up and other things like that to monitor your apartment building or whatever residence you have. So it's just very interesting. They're putting responsibility onto the landlord.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you have, let's say you own a building that has, or let's say you just have a house and you rent the top part off as apartment. How are you supposed to know they have drugs, or you're using drugs or dealing drugs? How are you supposed to know that?
Yeah.
So if the cops come along and say you're charged $250,000 because that's the fine they listed in the article, you're being charged $250,000 fine for allowing this to happen. And how the hell was I supposed to know this is happening? So it's not very clear where the government's going with this, but obviously it's a problem that they see. And of course, supportive housing is alarmed by this because there are people who provide accommodations for recovering addicts and the unhoused and so on, may find themselves in a compromising position because obviously many of those, and I'll do those people again, many of those people will fall off the wagon. And how is the tenant supposed to know?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, the landlord is supposed to know what their tenant is doing.
Yeah. Well, in fact, there's specific rules about prohibiting them from filming in private spaces.
Well, we found that we had to do that in our nonprofits. What was happening is a lot of people were slipping into the nonprofits. It's easy to get in there because the doors are open for a long time, particularly some of our units where when the doors open, they're locked doors and you have to use a little remote to open them. But when they open up for a long time. So people were slipping in. Plus, people had Confederates in the building. For instance, a drug dealer may have somebody in the building that's working with them. They open the door, the drug dealers get in. We found people coming in just making a nuisance of themselves. So we had to set up cameras. Setting up cameras works. Once the cameras are set up, that does sort of slow down a lot of this. Unfortunately, you put the super in a position where he has to monitor that, and when he does see somebody, then he has to confront them. And sometimes these people, as potential, they'll be violent.
Yeah. Well, and again, I guess that means then you've got to be able to have a super that's fit as well.
Well, we got a really good soup. We got a couple of really good supers. So we are, I'm very happy with the kind of work they've done.
Yeah.
When I'm on the board, I'm always pressing to give them better conditions and better medical benefits, because once you get somebody that's a really good worker, and these guys are, they're really good workers, they're really good at what they do. And we had a period of time where we didn't have very good superintendents, and things really went downhill and out of control. And I was on the committee there that reviewed the applications. Now I'm telling you, the one guy that came in, a good thing I'm a blue collar worker. When the one guy came in that we did hire, or both of them came in, if I was an ordinary HR person, I don't think I would have hired them, because they really didn't have a very good presence in an interview. But once I heard what they did and what they could do, and wow, these are good potentials, and actually it turned out much better than I thought. So we got lucky there.
I don't know
but
how
I think a regular HR department that wouldn't have hired these guys.
Yeah, I think hiring a superintendent in a building is a job that is kind of, it's not a normal interview.
No, but it was like the resumes weren't all flashy. The interview, they you could tell they hadn't rehearsed for interviews, and that kind of thing. You had to really know what kind of questions. I don't think any HR person that came down and had their list of ticky boxes and questions, in the future, what is your dreams and whatever, that kind of BS data.
That doesn't even come into it, does it?
Yeah, that kind of BS, the vague questions. So if you ask them what they did and what they could do, and but in any case, that being over with, I think we're at the end of our run here.
We are. Yeah.
And I would really, like, I know they say this every day, but really focus in on what's happening to Gaza now. It's a criminal. They, of course, hit a Catholic church, and Trump went crazy on Netanyahu, and everybody gets alarmed, and the EU gets into the Pope gets into it. Well, guess what? There's 58,000 people killed. And yeah, they killed a couple of Catholics in the only Catholic church in Gaza, and everybody flips out. Well, God, they're killing people in mosques. They also killed people in a Greek Orthodox church. What does it take? If this seems to be like, I'm glad a lot of attention is being focused on it and on this because of it, but for the wrong reason, man. You should have been on this all over long ago. But anyway, this outrage that's called Gaza, this war that they've had on the Gaza citizens has to end. They're pushing them into smaller and smaller locations. They're shoving them all down into around Rafah. And oddly enough, only about 1/3 of the tunnels have been taken. I don't understand. They're bombing the crap out of the people on the surface. They are taking out the tunnels, but most of those tunnels are still active. So I don't know what the IDF is doing there, but they seem to be pretty good at killing civilians.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Please keep that in mind.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.